And there's reports now that some farmers have 100% of their workers not showing up and they're being forced to shut down. In South Texas, they grow grapefruit, they grow oranges, lots of different citrus varieties, leafy greens, onions, potatoes, peppers. So not only are the prices of what we can get going to go up at the grocery store, but also there's going to be massive food waste if there's nobody picking these crops when they're ready to be picked.
So something I've been thinking a lot of lately is, how do farmers deal with stress? How do farmers deal with all the problems that they have in their life? And I think about this because this whole month has been a particularly hard, rough month.
Really quick, as a Nebraskan, I have to chime in with, does anybody care about Nebraska? Not anymore.
Someone please go check on Nebraska. Do you guys know what's going on over there? And if you don't know what's going on, that's why you have me, so I can explain it to you. But básicamente, Nebraska is about to go bankrupt in 6 months. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to smile. It's just a little ironic because majority of Nebraska voted for you-know-who, el pendejo, right? Majority of Nebraska is like, does anybody care about us? Like, we're about to go bankrupt in 6 months. And the reason why they're about to go bankrupt is because the majority of the workforce in Nebraska is built off, who do you think? The back to Latinos, right? That are undocumented. And they're scared to go to work. And they're not giving any money to the farmers. So their agriculture is dead. They're like, who cares? Like, can somebody come and help us? No, mijo. I have no pity for you.
So this morning I ended up on Nebraska Talk, and it was a bunch of people crying, why does anybody care about Nebraska? When we voted for Kamala Harris, when I cast my vote for Harris, that was me saying, I care about you and I want you to survive and thrive. Okay, you knew better than anybody else that your state thrives and survives off of migrants' backs. Okay, and instead of them waiting for ICE to come, they decided to peace out before they could come and get them. I don't know what to tell you guys anymore. This is what you voted for. Whether you like it or not, whether you want to believe it or not, this is exactly what you voted for. And now you're feeling it. What do you want us to do? You want a government handout? That's socialism. You voted against that. No. Sadly, the reality is that you'll probably have to sell a lot of your farms for pennies on the dollar to large corporations and manufacturers. But don't worry, they'll probably let you work there for minimum wage.
Dear Nebraska farmers, I have a question for you. So, you realize that you were employing your farms with undocumented workers, because there's no way that you didn't know that, right? You realize you're also breaking the law by doing so. But you then rail against those same undocumented workers that's doing the work and making you money so that they can be deported. And now you're crying and whining and trying to skin and grin to Donald Trump to stop him from deportations when you supported it overwhelmingly? It's kind of like the Venezuelans, right? When right before the election, they were like, I will vote for Donald Trump. Oh, 2 weeks later, he used us.
Hey, Nebraska, do you need a tissue for your issues? Hey, Nebraska, save the drama for your mama. What happened, Nebraska? Did voting for Trump ruin your economy? Oh, that's weird. That's so weird. It's kind of like we told you so, right? Oh, I love this. I like to stick it in your face and rub it in. It's kind of like, when Trump was telling everybody he was going to come after the undocumented people in this country that were working hard and deport them, that they would kind of move to a state they felt safe in. And apparently, Nebraska wasn't one of them. They packed up their stuff and they headed on out. to a state that would welcome them with open arms. So now you're going bankrupt. And as somebody that lives in a blue state, I could give a shit less. Boo hoo. Oh, and I can't wait for the hated comments. I can't wait for it. You voted for this. You voted for this. And now you're getting it. So why are you mad at us? We didn't vote for this. Nope. We voted completely against this. You voted for this. I better not get one BS comment. Not one. Not one. Oh, how mean you are. The stink. You're so mean. Shut up. Shut up. I'm not mean. I'm just giving you what you wanted. You wanted this. You voted for it. You made your bed. Now lay in it.
Racism is expensive. And corporations and billionaires don't care about you. This is probably breaking news to many who support and applaud mass deportations. Well, the people in Nebraska, the state of Nebraska, is starting to find out how expensive both of those things are, how expensive racism is, and how much corporations and the billionaires don't care about the working class, minorities, poor people, black people, and other non-billionaires. Well, here we go. So I hear Nebraska is on the brink of bankruptcy, although it seems that they have found a little band-aid to put on their self-inflicted gashing wound by choosing and supporting mass deportations, which hurts their farms because it takes away the migrant workers who, instead of waiting for ICE agents to go and round them up and jam-pack them into some of those private prisons like Core Civic and continue to enrich the billionaires while they lose while the farmers lose their workers, the migrants decided to self-deport to places where they can be and be okay and not be in communities of people who applaud and support mass deportations. So I guess those migrants were taking people's jobs. Where are those people? Come and take the jobs. They're there. The jobs are available. Why are these states, why is Nebraska potentially going bankrupt? Why are so much of America's farming country going belly up? Yeah, racism is expensive. And like they say, F around, find out. But I hope this is a lesson to everybody that is in support of and applaud mass deportations and mass incarceration. People who, in a haste to get rid of the people they do not like or to hurt people they don't like, end up hurting themselves. You know, with racism and xenophobia and all of these other things that were part of this past election. By the way, I'm not, although MAGA is super excited about these mass deportations, the corporate Democrats weren't too far away from them either. They were busy chasing MAGA to the right, especially on the issue of immigration. So I'm not gonna act like I didn't see it, or that it didn't happen, or that the Democratic Party wasn't campaigning on potentially doing harm to migrants and immigrants either. And at the end of the day, you know, there was also another choice other than the corporate Democrats or MAGA, and there was the Green Party. Most people probably did not pay attention to it, but if you look at their platform, it actually is in favor of the working class, is in favor of minorities, is in favor of the majority of America, to where you could see their platform is not in service of the billionaires, unlike the two major parties, the duopoly. So all that to say though, when you make choices and you make choices that hurt people, and at the same time you depend on those people, you're cutting your nose off to spite your face. And at this time, let me just ask Nebraska and everybody, because I know, I recognize everybody in America is going to be affected by farming issues. However, everybody that supports all of this bigotry, all of the mass deportations, mass incarceration, racism, racist policies, and all of that, and who are being affected now, let me just ask you to pull yourselves up by your bootstraps.
Hello, Americans who like to eat. I'm Linda, and I want to talk about empty grocery shelves. They are coming, and sooner than we think. There's a 3,000 per day immigrant detention quota. 40% of farm workers in the United States are undocumented. You do the math. Farms are an excellent place to find undocumented immigrants to detain and deport, depleting the workforce. And now, those who haven't been rounded up are afraid to show up. Let's look at just one state, Texas. According to farmers, this issue has been affecting their farms for a couple of weeks, but overnight, it bottomed out. On several Texas farms, nearly 100% of farm workers aren't showing up. So what does that mean for you? Remember Trump's comment about having 2 dolls instead of 30? Cows are milked 3 times a day. No workers, no milk, and some very unhappy cows. What if your grocery store, instead of getting 30 gallons of milk, gets 2? 28 families will not be able to buy milk. Now extrapolate that among produce. Produce that instead of being harvested is rotting on the vine. Texas is one of the top 10 producers of 40 major commodities. It is the 4th largest agriculture producer in the nation and 2nd in animal products. And it's not just cows not being milked and produce rotting on the vine. 1 in 7 Texans works in an agriculture-related job. If farms stop working, those jobs are affected. Workers not earning money aren't paying taxes. And yes, undocumented workers pay taxes. Without money coming in, they will cut back on things like restaurants and small businesses, movie theaters, wherever they spend their discretionary income. Last week, Trump ordered a halt to immigration enforcement at farms. But it may already be too late to solve the current problem. The lack of workers now mean farms won't hit full production this year. And if they lose planting now, there is nothing to harvest later. Yet, despite Trump's assurances, a few days after his statement, the administration resumed the raids. Vance says the administration plans to continue clearing the country of undocumented immigrants. Quote, "We're enforcing everywhere. In other words, you ought to voluntarily go back and come through the proper channels," unquote. That can literally take years. And frankly, it doesn't protect you from being deported. In the meantime, the question remains, how long are you willing to go without food? Bye, Americans. Have a nice day.
I hear Nebraska's not too happy, and that a lot of them are facing bankruptcy after they can't find people to work. A lot of people aren't coming to work right now, worried that they're going to get picked up by ICE. And there was even one family that said they had a 300-year-old ranch that they may lose. And I said, 300 years old ranch? That had been 1725. I wonder what the Native Americans thought about that one. But I don't know, Nebraska. Maybe they'll give you some of the money from Illinois that he kept I'm not sure. I mean, y'all voted for him. So maybe he'll give you all that money. All right, Nebraska, I hope things work out for you, and I hope your state don't go bankrupt. I hope not. You know, or get out there and get working. Hire, I mean, the unemployment office, though, that's where you go if people like need jobs. Just go to the unemployment office and tell them you're looking for workers. And I'm sure they'll be able to get something figured out for you over there. But yeah, good luck, Nebraska.
U.S. farmers are regretting their vote for Donald Trump after their business suffers. Womp womp. Since China implemented their tariffs, farmers are suffering because soybean farmers, especially in the Midwest, are not being able to export as much as they're used to. I wonder why. Yet they voted for him anyway. They voted for him about 2 or 3 times, actually. I don't know how you thought voting for him would help you in your business when creating tariffs will probably hurt you. And he's said he's going to do this multiple times. But, you know, another example of Americans thinking that other parts of the world need them the most. Brazil is the #1 soybean import for China. They don't need the U.S. Brazil is steadily increasing the production year after year after year, while the U.S. has remained stagnant. And y'all thought Donald Trump getting in office will help y'all? You put somebody in office who directly hinders your business. I need these people to take a survey so I can understand why they make the decisions that they do. But again, womp womp. You put somebody in office because of reasons, and now you're paying the price because of those same reasons. You just thought they wouldn't affect you.
Maine farmers are fed up with the Trump administration and went to Augusta on Wednesday to protest the funding cuts and unpredictability that his USDA is causing for these farms. 150 farmers and supporters protested outside the state capitol, driving tractors and livestock trailers and carrying signs to draw attention to how President Trump is hurting Maine farms. We've told you before about how Trump's USDA has broken signed contracts that it had with farmers across the country, leaving those farms on the hook for thousands, often tens of thousands of dollars in costs that were supposed to be reimbursed. We've also told you about how the Trump USDA shut down the programs that helped Maine schools and food banks purchase food from local farmers. A lot of Maine farms were already struggling. These cuts from the Trump administration are making it harder for them to survive. A farmer from Monmouth who attended the protests asked, "Who is this working for? Not working people, not farmers." Be sure to like and follow for more Maine news.
So my wife was having a conversation with a family member who happens to be married to a farmer, and the family member was talking about how they recently had lost a number of workers due to deportations and how that was going to affect them, that work on the farm wasn't going to get done, that they might not produce as much milk or as much grains as they normally would because they wouldn't have the workers to get this done. And once again, it shows that, one, Trump supporters, as these individuals are, don't care about the people. They care about only things when they affect themselves. They only care when it's going to affect the money that they make, or in this case, that they're actually going to have to go out and do what farmers should be doing, which is working in their fields, working in their barns. They didn't care that the people are deported. They care that they might lose some money and that they're going to have to actually work for a little bit of time. They don't care about the people. And it's another one of those "we told you so" moments.
But I don't think I ever thought I was going to get rich doing this. I thought I could make a living and pay my bills and leave something for my children, grandchildren. I pretty much done that. I owe a little bit of money, but the place I owe money on, the place is worth a hell of a lot more than what that little bit I owe on it. Anyway, so I guess probably most people looked at it and said I hadn't been a success, but I guess kind of what I wanted to do, I have done. I've paid my bills and added some land to what I had, and don't own too much on it, and gonna leave it all, give it all to my children and grandchildren. They can do that real shortly. I've enjoyed it, except the bad times. Can't ever say you really enjoyed a harvest crop when you worked all year long and you come back and owe a bunch of money at the end of it, all your time, your labor. Can't say I enjoyed those times, but overall I enjoyed all of it. I couldn't ever done anything else and been happy because good Lord wired me up to be a farmer. You know, I put forth a lot of effort, I do know that. Did I always try my best? Probably not. I thought I tried my best, but don't know what I did or not, but I gave it a good shot at it. If I had to do over, I'd have probably put irrigation in earlier. Maybe not farm quite so many acres, but try to do a better job with fewer acres, especially with irrigation. I want to put every square inch I could get in irrigation and maybe got some long-term rent. You can put some irrigation on some of that stuff. Like if you get a 10-year lease or 15-year lease on some of it. But I still had a lot of acres down there I could put irrigation on, but I didn't do it. Anyway, I'm out of here. Go back and let the big mama scream at the cat. I called a lady about putting a collar on the cat. The electronic deal, you know, where big mama keep it from getting all over the top of it. The cat can jump on top of anything. Big Mom said, no, can't have a collar on a cat. So I don't know what I'm going to I guess she's just going to keep on screaming at him. All right.
So we're only 2 months into the Trump administration and our farmers are being decimated. And when you start to see the price of groceries go up even more, keep all of this in mind. Everything that affects farmers affects our refrigerator, our cupboards, the restaurants we eat at, you name it. This is from Reuters. It's called Farmers Put Plans Investments Under Trump USDA Spending on Hold. And it gives all these examples. There's one farmer in Montana who's spearheading building a feed mill for farmers within 150 miles. If feed mills those are your big grain elevators, your big silos that you see. And when farmers harvest their commodity, they need somewhere to store it and sell it. It's kind of like their version of a retail store. And so these feed mills have staff there that put a price on the farmer's commodity and arrange to have it sold. And they store it in these big silos. And then the farmers can go back and keep harvesting a new crop. Well, this $684,000 project that had been awarded under the Biden administration, the Trump administration is not paying it out. So this farmer had to put it on hold. And here's the thing, a whole bunch of those farmers, they're organic farmers, organic, woke farmers. They've got all of their crops that are just sitting there going bad. They're just alfalfa, you name it, it's just sitting there. And this farmer is getting invoices from these contractors he hired to erect this feed mill. And these contractors, budgeted for getting this job. And now they're going to lose out as well. Thank you, Donald Trump. And this is already happening at a time when exports are going down because of the Canadian tariffs and everything like that. The exports are worth $191 billion a year to our American farmers, and Donald Trump is fucking with that. There's 2 farms that wanted to remain anonymous that because their product lines that they were getting ready to harvest, they did not get the money from the Trump administration. It had been approved under the Biden administration, and they both had to file for bankruptcy. Now, all of these farmers were already being hit, had been hit for the last at least 4 years. For instance, soybean prices never recovered under Donald Trump's first tariffs in 2016. Farmers were hit back then. But because they're just so loyal, I don't know, they just want to hate gay people too much. I don't know what the hell. They truly believe that electing him again, he would make things right. They really believe that. What made them think that? What made them think that? So under the Biden Inflation Reduction Act, farmers were awarded $20 billion in farm subsidies. And these farmers aren't getting a lot of this money now. And so they're calling their local representatives, Republican representatives, and most of the time their calls are not being returned. They're not picking up their phones. Boy, doesn't that sound familiar? There's climate-friendly farmers. There was an initiative under Biden. If you built climate-friendly processes and you're farming, and we're talking about preventing pollution from manure, from fertilizers, and all that stuff, you were awarded money. And these farmers invested in cleaner technology to protect your drinking water, my drinking water, the soil, the air, and they're not getting their money now under the Trump administration. There's another Nebraska farmer who was awarded $400,000 to build a mill. Mills are used to, like, for instance, grind flour that ends up in our snack food. That is on hold because this farmer is not getting his $400,000 approved under Biden by the Trump administration. Trump's not releasing it. There's another farmer and his wife. They skimped for years to grow their livestock because there was a growing need for their specialty flavored sausages that they were producing that fed hungry kids at their local schools through these feeding hungry school kid initiatives under the Biden administration. And since all that funding has been cut off, they just had to file for bankruptcy. The USDA has a lot of money on hold that's linked to any kind of soil and water conservation that's already been awarded, grants that have already been awarded, because having clean water and clean soil is woke. Anything that had already been approved for organic farmers is on hold because growing organically is woke. Communities, farmers that live in communities that serve the poor and underprivileged, that money is being withheld because feeding the poor is considered woke. And here's a big one. Women-owned farms, their funding is being withheld. Do you know how many women-owned farms? They've inherited it from their family. Their fathers, their grandfathers have died, they've retired, and these daughters grew up on a farm. They know how to run these farms, and a lot of them voted for Donald Trump, a lot of them, because being a woman-owned farm is woke.
So for those of y'all who've been keeping up with recent events as it relates to the farmers, right? We talked about Nebraska, and then we talked about Iowa, and all of these farmers, you know, are losing their minds because they're losing their farms, and, you know, they're scared. Well, let me tell y'all what I heard today. So the lobbyist groups for the farmers are proposing another bailout of $16 billion. The last time syphilitic Sid did this in his first administration, they received a whopping $24 billion in bailouts. Well, this time around, syphilitic Sid said he doesn't know if he can do that. He's not sure that that's something that they can accommodate. Look, I love the farmers. The farmers are wonderful. They farm. right? They farm. But, you know, we're trying to cut fraud and waste and a lot of unnecessary spending. So now these people and their lobbyists are trying to get bailouts. But what I want to understand is, what happened to you got to pull yourself up by the bootstraps? What happened to we voted for him because he's a great businessman? What happened to we're going to put our trust in him because he's going to help us? Help y'all do what exactly? Lose your farms? Yes, that part. Because you know who invests in these companies that buy up bankrupted farms? Your vice president. So, to all you farmers that voted for this, thinking it was going to be like the last time and he was going to give y'all a bailout and y'all would get those subsidies to support yourselves and your farms and your families, it's not coming. Not this time around. It's not coming. You can just forget it. So, I wish you well. I hope it works out for you. Maybe, you know, somebody can whisper in his ear and change his mind. You know, you might want to reach out to Ivanka because she's his favorite and he listens to her, I guess. But they're not really speaking, you know, ever since like the insurrection. But I don't know. This is just word on the street. You know, it's just gossip, but you didn't hear it from me.
Immigrant farm workers are not showing up on farms in the Rio Grande Valley in Texas, Florida, and California. In Texas, in particular, in the Rio Grande Valley, they produce many crops needed around the country, such as grapefruit, corn, citrus, oranges, all the vegetables, tomatoes, carrots, cabbage, onions are all grown here. And guess what? The undocumented workers are not showing up there. They're not showing up here in Florida, and they're not showing up in California. Now, I can hear you all say, you don't care, you're glad they're getting them. They're breaking the law, number one. They are criminals. They're not criminals. They are violating a civil violation, which is a fine or a penalty. It is not criminal, unlike the felon in the White House. That's a criminal. You will be complaining when you see no fruit, vegetables, and other crops in our grocery stores to eat. You will care when you see the prices escalate even higher. Isn't that the reason y'all supposedly voted for Trump? Because he was going to bring the prices down, and y'all could only complain and complain about everything under Biden. I don't hear y'all complaining about these out of control prices anymore that we continue to see everywhere thanks to Donald Trump. And all the prices that we've seen go up because of the trade deals or no trade deals and the tariffs. Well, guess what? These prices are going up. Thank you, Donald Trump. You and Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller is such a genius. You know, he is the whole reason that we're having this whole problem, because he is so anti-immigrant. And by the way, his family came from Europe. They were persecuted as immigrants. And Elon, oops, did I say Elon? I did say Elon. Elon, how do you like hanging out with Stephen's wife? What do you think? Love to hear from my Democrats and my MAGAs, my crazies, my cuckoos, and my burned out light bulbs. What do you all think? Only going to cost us more money, and to accomplish what? This is not a solution. It is the problem. Donald Trump and Stephen Miller are the problem. Love to hear from my Democrats, my MAGAs, my crazies, my cuckoos, and my burned out light bulbs. Let me know what you think. You like these higher prices and the food shortages you're going to see if this continues, and it's going to continue. They're not going to show up. And I'm going to talk about ICE in another video.
Hey there, it's day 34 and this is Juju, and today I'd like to talk about farm workers. So here I'm in Watsonville on my way to Soledad Prison to do empathy in action, and you can see in the distance here the farm workers hard at work here in the field. I guess I can't get that, but I just want to talk about the support, the way that the media and certain people in our government are talking about immigrants, and particularly from, Mexico, Hispanic, immigrants. And these are some of the most hard-working people. This is back-breaking work. I've gone to a farm workers tour. There's a wonderful nonprofit called Farm Workers Family. farm worker families, and I've gone on one of their farm workers tours and seen what it's like to have to try to pick strawberries, the conditions that they live in. Our immigration system is broken, absolutely, but we need to give this, because right now these people are working under slave conditions, always afraid to that they're, the threat of being undocumented in this country. And so this is the agricultural area, and everyone is like, if you want to try deporting people, who do you think is going to come out here and do this backbreaking work? So I just want to say how important immigrants and farm workers are, certainly to this area of California, and I send them my love and respect. And again, check out the Center for Farm Workers Family. It's a wonderful organization. So this is Juju, unscripted, unedited, unfiltered, coming from the fields of Watsonville, and lead with love.
I mean, I don't know how you can look at 400 years of forced relocation, forced labor, detention camps, and then try to claim that this is not normal. It's not normal for white people. It's not normal for white people to experience or have to pay attention to. It's hard to escape now, though, isn't it? Because it's everywhere. Because now we have social media and a 24-hour news cycle. So you don't have a choice. And I think a lot of this sort of sentiment that I get when I talk about the precedent of the things that the Trump administration is doing, it's always, not almost, it's always coming from white people. And I think that there's a real amount of discomfort that you're having to face, that maybe America is not as exceptional as your history teachers in high school tried to convince you that it is. The Constitution and the Declaration of Independence are great philosophical experiments that I support and believe in. I do consider myself actually quite a patriotic person, but we have been failing to live up to those ideals from the moment pen was put to paper, really from the moment European boot landed on this ground. Now, of course, Trump is doing a lot of uniquely awful things in his attempts to stay out of prison, in addition to the normal awful things, and we're the ones who are going to have to deal with that. It can be very hard to reconcile acknowledging that your country has been cruel for a long time, purposely, intentionally cruel. It's in the documents. 3/5 of a person, need I remind you. Reconciling that with a sense of national identity as an American or pride in your country, it can be hard to put those two things together. Also, acknowledging the truth of a lot of these things means that liberals lose a little bit of the high ground when we're talking about Donald Trump, because we can't just say, oh, this is un-American, he's un-American. He's anti-American. I think those are two different things. But along with these pretty common acts of state cruelty in America come acts of citizen resistance. Maybe not any that you're super familiar with because they didn't happen in your community, because they didn't need to. But this is why we study Native resistance and the Black community and the Civil Rights Movement and Stonewall, because just as state cruelty in America is pretty normal, so is property damage.
If you are from Nebraska, I need to know, what is one restaurant you are sad no longer exists? Mine is Rock and Roll Runza. This gem used to be in Lincoln, but no more, it's gone, and we are worse for it. I think Runza should bring it back. So what else do we miss?